Hello, 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 hello. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there is a delay, and I don't think there's much I can do with it through Rumble Studio. Um, although it doesn't look like I don't know if it's the same delay on YouTube or not. Oh yeah, it definitely is. Okay, so well, if anybody comes in, then reason for the delay is because of I don't know what's causing the delay, but guess I could have restarted the computer beforehand, but whatever. Whatever is whatever now. So be nice if Rumble had a bit more user control over the sound and stuff, but oh well, can't do much about it. Anyway, we'll just wait a few minutes to see if anybody else comes in, and it is nice to see that they actually. It is nice that Rumble Studio has the viewer count for where you're streaming to up at the top. It's kind of cool. And I don't know if anybody else will come in, so whatever. I'm just going to listen to what Zuckerberg here has to say.
Hey, everyone. I want to talk about something important today. It's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting expression, and I still believe this today. A lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Content. Governments and legacy media have
I like how he says governments and media.
pushed to censor more and more.
This is one, like, I've already watched this, but this is the part that I actually, it just irks me to no end. It's just, he barely starts talking and he's immediately passing the buck off. Like, that's not to say the governments and stuff didn't have a hand in it, but it's clear that the social media companies could have just followed what they were supposed to be following. Technically, I guess they shouldn't even be called social media because it's not. Well, there's some social aspects to it, of course, but when you start censoring speech and dialogue over certain topics, then it's not social anymore. Then you're cutting off the social side of it. And Facebook has been one of the biggest proponents of that. But anyway, we'll continue.
A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are very seriously. Make sure that we handle responsibly. Moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point.
That's a huge thing right there. See, he's only seeing this now. If he's actually legitimately seeing it, he's only seeing this now because of the fact that Trump won the election. If Trump hadn't won, I seriously doubt that Zuckerberg or Meta would even be thinking like this at all. I think this is purely just to save their own ass. And if he is legitimate, we won't see it during Trump's term. Or if another Republican happens to win, we won't see it during that term either. We'll see it if another Democrat gets in. Then we'll see if they actually stick to their guns here.
Towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying policies, restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes, similar to X.
This will be kind of cool. The problem is who knows what the bias is on those sites, and what their process is going to be to actually allow people into the community notes as moderators. Getting rid of the fact checkers, though, that's a good start, because the fact checkers were the problem, the biggest problem, in fact. How can you have fact checkers that are leaning to one side and then you're going to call them fact checkers? I mean, we've been seeing this during the debates and stuff. They were willing to fact check the Republican candidates, but they weren't willing to fact check the Democratic candidates. And it's so they're all complicit in this. Media, or legacy media, the social media platforms. I guess it kind of went both ways because you had people's opinions still on there. But as far as these guys go, like Zuckerberg and that, like, but who knows? Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe he's actually had a legitimate change in his thinking. But I'm skeptical until I see the other side of the coin, where it's not Republican in charge. But number one seems like a good start to everything.
Starting in the U.S. After Trump got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how we tried to good test those and became the arbiters of truth. But the fact.
No, I think they deliberately went into trying to be the arbiters of truth. So there may be some truth she's telling here, but again, they're just passing the buck.
Fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. The next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse.
It was out of touch, like when it started. Never mind now. The only reason why they think it was in touch with society was mainly because of the fact that they were stopping the counter arguments to it and only pushing what they saw as positive sides to it.
What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content.
The filters make mistakes. They make the mistakes because you're the one in control of them.
Content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce...
I'd like to know what he means by catch less bad stuff. Like what he actually is meaning by what the bad stuff actually is. Because it sounds like he's just whitewashing it to make it sound better.
Reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. Fourth, we're going back to see less politics because it was making people stressed.
I'd like to know the numbers on that. I doubt it was the majority of people actually saying anything like that.
So we stopped recommending these posts. We're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to phase this back into Facebook, Instagram, while we're keeping it and positive. We're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams.
That's actually something interesting to do with Instagram. I seriously dislike how Instagram is set up. Where it's the positive engagement and the emotes and stuff like that that are, how do I put that? I guess more prioritized. And then if you would actually post a negative comment, it's just a horrible system Instagram has set up. It allows for trashy content to be constantly put up above everything else.
Out of California and our US-based content review basis out to promote expression, I think that it will help build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back governments in the world through government and pushing to censor in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing institutional censorship built anything innovative there. continues to quietly take things down. China has censored us from even working in the country. The only way we